This is the GBU-57 MOP, also known as the Bunker Buster. It doesn't just hit a target. It hits the very spot where the enemy feels the most secure, punching through a bunker layer after layer until nothing is left but rubble. The concept of the Bunker Buster bombs came around the Second World War, with Germany developing a series of armor-piercing heavy bombs to drop on ships and fortified structures where normal bombing runs were simply ineffective. The Allies later joined this race as well with the UK's two bombs, the 10-ton Grand Slam and the 5-ton Tall Boy. These bombs, while operating under the same principle as modern-day Bunker Buster bombs, had little ground penetration power, which is why the Bunker Busters received so much attention to become the assets they are today. Later on, during the US's invasion of Iraq in 1991, intelligence reports suggested a huge amount of underground fortified bunkers that needed to be destroyed. Most of these bunkers were buried deep in the ground or made in mountainous terrain. At that time, no payload delivery system or bomb could reach these underground bunkers effectively. Therefore, the US government quickly started research and development of a weapon capable of deep ground penetration to eradicate the bunker issue and help its forces. The need was so immense that a working prototype was delivered within just a few weeks. This would later become the first modern-day ground penetrator bomb, the GBU-28. Or the BLU-113, weighing an impressive 2,000 kilograms with 19 feet in length and 36.8 centimeters in diameter. But here's the catch. This bomb could only penetrate less than 20 feet in reinforced concrete and only up to 100 feet in soft ground, resulting in poor performance in attacks that involve bunkers or target locations deeper than 20 feet. Pretty much instantly, the US government realized they needed more penetration power. When it comes to bunker busters, there are just two ways you can do this. 1. Dramatically increase the bomb's weight. And 2. Make its diameter smaller. So, by 2003, US Army researchers had the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, which is a 14,000-kilogram bomb and is able to burrow itself 200 feet in reinforced concrete, exceeding the capabilities of all kinds of penetration ordnance. For reference, consider taking a GBU-28, a high-efficient bomb for close-to-surface structures itself, and increasing all of its abilities by 10 times, and you will get a GBU-57 MOP. So how is the GBU-57 actually made? And what makes it so capable? Well, it starts with steel. Not just any steel, but a very hard alloy of ferrous cobalt, and lots of it. For reference, 80% of the GBU-57's weight is of its outer shell, which translates to roughly 11,000 kilograms. The height of the GBU-57 MOP is about 20.5 feet, almost equivalent to a double-story building, while the diameter of its shell is 31.5 inches. This hard shell allows the bomb to withstand the sheer force of impact and penetration when it comes into contact with the ground. Comparing this to other bunker buster bombs like the GBU-28 or the 2,000-pound GBU-31, we can see it's much larger in both diameter and weight, holds more explosive material, and has a more advanced GPS guidance system for precision, and is able to work without a JDAM kit. A JDAM kit refers to a piece of equipment attached to an unguided drop bomb to make it a precision-guided bomb. The outer shell of the GBU-57 also has a very aerodynamic shape, allowing it to travel faster than the speed of sound when dropped from a suitable height. The bomb has guidance fins at its tail to help steer it since there's no rocket propulsion system. The GBU-57 relies on these 4 fins to glide in the air and hit its target precisely. On the inside of the hard ferrous cobalt shell is the 2,300-kilogram tritonal warhead, which is 80% TNT mixed with 20% aluminum powder. This is important because adding aluminum to TNT allows the combustion process to generate more heat, which in turn causes the explosive material to burn faster, and as a result, the explosion is about 18% more powerful than a normal TNT bomb. The warhead is connected using two conduit fuses, one in the nose and the other in the tail. In the nose of the GBU-57 is a G-force-activated fuse, while the tail fuse is, interestingly, the main detonator due to its timed action. These fuses are crucial in the timing of the explosion. Towards the tail of the GBU-57, we have a military-grade GPS system, 4 gear systems for the attached fins, a thermal battery pack to power these systems, and a transmitter. This GPS system identifies the target, calculates trajectory, receives and transmits data to the operator, and controls the glide path by adjusting the 4 fins at the tail of the bomb. Since there's no propulsion in the bomb, the glide path and the precision of the drop are subject to the drop height. Speaking of which, nearly all bunker buster bombs are only effective when dropped from above 20,000 feet using a B-2 Spirit bomber. Due to its huge size and weight, even the B-2 Spirit can only carry 2 GBU-57 MOP bombs in its bombing bay, making it the only aircraft capable of completing bombing missions with this bomb. Dropping from such a height has 2 advantages. 1, it picks up a lot of kinetic energy during the free fall. And 2, the GPS has more time to correct the glide trajectory, making it more accurate. Once the bomb is dropped, the kinetic energy starts increasing to the point where the bomb's velocity surpasses that of the speed of sound, and that's when it comes in contact with the ground. The kinetic energy of the bomb pushes it deeper into the surface. With its immense weight, the bomb starts displacing material around it and goes through the ground like a hot knife through butter. As the nose of the GBU-57 touches the ground, the first fuse is lit due to the sudden change in G-force. By this time, the first fuse has already alerted the microprocessor in the tail about the penetration, and it has relayed the information to the second fuse. Now, the second fuse starts a timed reaction or delay switch, which later detonates and the bomb explodes. Some earlier models of the GBU-57 use time delay fuses to detonate, but modern dual-fuse detonators have since replaced them. These single-fuse mods were simply timed detonators that ignited the warhead, but they often missed the target area by a large margin in the test runs. Therefore, they were replaced by a dual-fuse system in 2017. Still, the GBU-57 lacks a void-sensing fuse, which means the fuse only detonates when the bomb has come to a full stop, sometimes even after the target area has passed. By comparison, the GBU-57 is the largest bunker buster bomb in the world in application and in features. A single GBU-57 bomb is equivalent to nearly 10 GBU-28s or BLU-113s in explosion, damage, and penetration. While a GBU-28 is only able to bury itself about 20 feet in reinforced concrete, the GBU-57 can penetrate up to 200 feet. A primary issue with the MOP is the cost differences and its overall capability with aircraft. Because what good is a bomb if there's no aircraft that can carry it, right? While the GBU-28 and the GBU-31, another bunker buster bomb known to work with the JDAM kit, can be fitted in most fighter jets and bomber crafts, the GBU-57 remains compatible with only the B-2 Spirit bomber. Then there's the size factor. For reference, here's a GBU-57 compared to a human. And here's a GBU-31 and a GBU-38 compared to a human. In application, however, the use case of GBU-57 is much different than that of a GBU-28 or the 2,000-pound GBU-31, which has since been used to target tall buildings rather than underground shelters. It is interesting to know that the GBU-57 MOP bomb is often confused with other heavy bombs, like the GBU-43 MOAB. Weight-wise, the GBU-57 takes the lead with more than 14,000 kilograms, while the GBU-43 weighs about 10,000 kilograms. However, in dimensions, the GBU-43 is significantly larger, with 30 feet in height and a diameter of 41 inches. In use, the MOAB and the MOP are also very different from each other. While the GBU-57 MOP is used to destroy targets underground, the MOAB, which stands for Massive Ordnance Air Blast or the mother of all bombs, is used to destroy the targets on the surface. The MOAB has a different build than the MOP as well. While the GBU-57 has a hard steel shell that weighs 80% of the bomb's total weight, the MOAB has a much lighter shell, weighing only 1,200 kilograms. Factoring in the price and number of uses, the MOAB has been used far more than the MOP due to the lower cost and easier operation, much more effective in anti-personnel bombings than the MOP, which is aimed to destroy underground structures. Although there are plans to increase the compatibility of more aircraft to carry this bomb apart from the B-2 bomber, major delays in such programs have contributed to the limited use of the GBU-57 MOP. Furthermore, the actual number of times the GBU-57 has been used remains classified, and only test drops in 2014, 2015, and 2016 being publicly available. Another test drop with modifications to the original 2003 design was made in 2017 using a B-2 bomber in the United States. Following the successful test drops in 2017, the U.S. Air Force contracted $20.8 million to acquire the undisclosed number of GBU-57 MOP bombs in 2018. Overseas, the attack on the Houthi rebels in Yemen on October 17, 2024 was perhaps the first publicly acclaimed strike in which the GBU-57 MOP was used to destroy 5 underground bunkers. Another factor for the limited use of the GBU-57 MOP is its cost. With over $500 million in research and development and a unit manufacturing price of $3.5 million per bomb. Most of the time, this cost exceeds the practical use of the bomb, which is why the smaller alternatives of the GBU-57, such as the GBU-28 and the GBU-2000, are used extensively for routine military applications. You wouldn't want to spend millions to smash an empty trash can, right? The same concept applies here, basically. Considering the high capability of the GBU-57, it's only fair that the U.S. defense strategy resorts to limited use, only developing this massive bomb in extreme situations. Fascinating to have a weapon that even the owner thinks twice to use, no? Well, the U.S. really seems to enjoy the GBU-57 MOP, but maybe only until it develops the next best thing. Bye for now.